Everyone, Sarnab, everybody. To start the session, can I kindly request everyone to say sadhu? Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Katang bhavitani cha kundaliya tini sucharitani. Katang bahuli katani chattaro satipattane paripurenti. Ida kundaliya bhikkhu kaya juttaritang pahaya vachi duttaritang bhaveti. Vachi duttaritang pahaya vachi sucharitang bhaveti. Mano juttaritang pahaya mano sucharitang bhaveti. Evam bhavitani Kho kundaliya tini sucharitani evam bahulikatani chattaro satipattane paripurenti. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends in the Dhamma, today is 28th January of 2025, and I think we are meeting after maybe about 2 months. This is our first session in 2025. So this particular stanza that I just chanted was something that was taken from a discourse called Kundaliya. And we have been discussing this discourse for some time, but since we have not done it for about a couple of months, so I thought of giving a good summary of the Sutta to start 2025 and also to start our programs going forward. So this Kundaliya Sutta, like other suttas, Venerable Ananda is specifically giving the details of the localities. So this particular sutta has happened in a town called, or we would say, in a city called Saketa. And in that city, there has been a suburb called Anjana Grove. And in that suburb, there has been a park called Deer Park. And this is where this particular discussion, so to say, has happened. And that discussion is what is titled as Kundaliya Sutta. And the name Kundaliya is coming from the person who involved in the discussion with the Blessed One. And he's a wanderer. Wanderer means he has renounced his lay life, and he's going from place to places, park to park, monastery to monastery, worship place to worship place, and then earn his living or find some food. And wherever there is a place, he sleeps. And in doing so, he's listening to the talks by different teachers, different preachers, and different spiritual leaders. So when he met the Blessed One as well, he exchanged greetings and then asked the question from the Blessed One, why he is leaving this holy life. What is the purpose of living the holy life? Then after that, I think even before that, he says, I have heard from other teachers when you why they live this life is just to convince other people with their point of view of spirituality. And in doing so, they argue, and winning such arguments is their way of teaching. And also I have met people who are opposed to that. They don't want to win the argument, but they want simply to say that this is my teaching, but they are not going behind winning the argument, and winning the argument, they say, has no value. So then only he is asking this question, what benefit, what fruit he gets by being a monastic. Then the Lord Buddha says, Kundaliya, the Tathagata means the blessed one, lives for the benefit and fruit of true knowledge and liberation. So he's not talking about any argument. He's not talking about any viewpoint, but he simply says true knowledge and liberation. So that has been a bit of an inspiring and unexpected answer from the Blessed One. Then Kundaliya straight away asked, Master Gautama, what things, when developed and cultivated, fulfill true knowledge and liberation? So as soon as he heard the words full knowledge and liberation, he has had a good kick about it. It may be something he has been looking for, something like. When he heard it, he's straight away asking, what should I do to get there? So that's the thrust of the question. Then the Blessed One says, 7 factors of enlightenment, Kundaliya, when developed and cultivated, will fulfill the true knowledge and the liberation. So he straight away says, gives the answer. To go to true knowledge and liberation, you have got to develop the 7 factors of enlightenment. Then Kundaliya comes out with the next question. What have I got to do to fulfill the 7 factors of enlightenment? Then the Blessed One has again a very solid answer for that. Blessed One says, the four establishments of mindfulness, or the 4 foundations of mindfulness, when developed and cultivated, will fulfill the 7 factors of enlightenment. So it is showing very direct, linear relationship. How you go to the true knowledge and how you go to the liberation. And then as soon as he says, he heard that one will have to develop the 4 foundations of mindfulness, he is again asking, what things to be done to fulfill the 4 establishments of mindfulness. Then the Blessed One says 3 kinds of good conduct. When developed and cultivated, you will get, or you will achieve, you will reach 4 foundations of mindfulness. Then he's asking again, what things when developed and cultivated fulfill 3 kinds of good conduct? Then he says, restraints of the sense faculties. So in this manner, Buddha has been giving what has to be done to achieve the next stage, and thereby gradually one will progress and achieve the true knowledge and the true liberation. So therefore, it is not something that you will do this life and then after death you receive something. There are certain things that you will have to definitely do, and when you do those things, and then and there you will have results, and it's a very clear path. So after the Blessed One says that the restraints of sense faculties is the way to develop the 3 kinds of good conduct, the Blessed One keeps talking. He's not allowing Kundaliya to speak after that. Now, Kundaliya has been asking what things to be done, so on and so forth. Now the Blessed One is telling him how it should be done. Then he says, Kundaliya, to restrain of the sense faculties, then he says, you will have to act like this. How he's telling is, having seen an agreeable thing, when you see an agreeable thing, if a practitioner is not longing for it, if the practitioner does not get excited by it, if the practitioner does not generate lust for it, then he's having a restraint of the sense faculties. And similarly, he says, now this is when you have something agreeable in the sense, it may be a sight that is agreeable, it may be a sound that is agreeable, it may be a contact that is agreeable, it may be an aroma that is agreeable, it may be a taste that is agreeable, it may be some crazy, funny thoughts going in your head. So anything that are agreeable, if you are not longing for it and become excited and is not generating lust for it, then you have to some extent restraint of the sense faculty. So similarly, he says, when that happens, his body and mind is steady and inwardly well composed and well liberated. So well liberated in the sense it is not 100% liberation. Now he is having an idea how to liberate from the senses, sense faculties. Usually when we see agreeable things, we get sucked by it. We are absorbed. We are swallowed, swallowed by the beauty of it, the attraction from it. We will be sucked by that vibration. But here, what happens is, when there is an agreeable thing, you will not get succumbed to it. You will have your distance from it. And having that distance, you are liberated from those agreeable things. So when the agreeable things are coming, they are not coming free of charge. Any agreeable thing, although it looks like it is giving you rewards, it is giving you opportunities, it has a cost and it has a weakness. So with any agreeable thing, any disadvantage attached to that will also come. So that is why the Blessed One says, and of course those things are more than the advantages you see. So therefore the Blessed One says, when you restrain your sense faculties in this manner, you are liberated. And that's about the agreeable things. And when it comes to disagreeable things also, it's the same story. But in this case, in disagreeable thing, you don't long for it. Instead of, you may be dismayed by it. But here what happens is, when you have a disagreeable thing, you are not dismayed by it. You are not daunted by it. You are not dejected by it. You don't feel ill will about it. So when you have this nature, and although there is a disagreeable thing, he's not affected by it. So those disagreeable things cannot press your buttons to play the games. Now you have the buttons at your own control. So your own remote control is in your own hands. So otherwise what happens is, when we have a disagreeable thing, those buttons will be pressed by outsiders. When there are agreeable things, those buttons will be pressed by outsiders, because we are getting in some way involved depending on the nature of the incident, whether it's agreeable or disagreeable. But when you have a restraint in sense faculties, this is not happening. So therefore you are liberated. So it is easier said than done, and the Blessed One is giving a way for it. That is what we are doing. And when we come to the temple, or maybe at home, what we are practicing is mindfulness. When we practice mindfulness, what we are trying to do is, we are trying to maintain the choiceless awareness. So when you maintain choiceless awareness, if you have your breath, you keep observing your breath. And when you keep observing your breath, you don't long for it. you don't hate it. Simply observe. If it is changing, you just let it change. If you don't feel your breath, you just observe that you don't feel your breath. You're not trying to look for it. So in this manner, you are training your mind not to look for things, and at the same time, not to hate things, not to chase things, not to get disconnected with things. So, and that is very clearly taught when there are disturbances to your practice. Maybe when you're sitting, when you're observing your breath, there will have a huge sound which disturbs you. So when you get this sound, if you are able to observe that as something that you are hearing, instead of internally making comments and being arrogant about it in your mind, you simply observe the sound and you take your attention to the ear. Similarly, when you have thoughts, you take the attention to the head and see how the thoughts are coming. Similarly, when you feel, when you have some aches and pains, you just take your attention to the place where you have aches and pains and simply you observe it. And while walking, if you have any sights, you just observe your eyes and how your eyes are working. And in that manner, we avoid reaction to the disturbances that we may have in our practice. And in that way, we gradually train the restrainment of the faculties. So that is how the Blessed One says that you will have to restrain the sense faculties. And he doesn't stop there. He says, when the faculties are restrained, and when you keep on practicing in this manner, that cultivates and develops the three kinds of good conduct. So in this manner, when you are vigilant, what happens is you will be mainly restraining your physical activities and verbal activities. And it goes further because you are vigilant. To have your sense faculties restrained, you can't just controlling your body and the word of mouth or the verbal restraint, and you will have to be very alert. So when you become alert, it goes a step further, and not only you have a good conduct in your bodily actions, not only the verbal actions, even the mental actions will get rectified. So therefore, the Blessed One says, when you try to restrain your sense faculties, you will gradually, since you are mindful, you will gradually start seeing the bodily bad actions that you are doing. So you will abandon those bodily misconduct, and you will abandon if there are any verbal misconduct, because you are alert now about yourself. You're vigilant about yourself. You're more observing yourself. Your camera is turned towards you. So you start seeing yourself more. It looks like you are always in front of a mirror, and you start seeing yourself all the time because of this vigilance and continuous observation. And as a result, you start seeing your unacceptable bodily conducts. We call it bodily misconduct and verbal misconduct and mental misconduct. And therefore, you tend to avoid them because you yourself have seen that these are misconducts. So when you see it for yourself, there is no need for someone else to come and pat your back and say it is wrong. No third party is required. You have become your own boss. So you try to avoid those bodily misconduct, and instead you start developing good bodily conduct, and develop good verbal conduct, develop good mental conduct. So therefore, actions such as killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, intoxication, lying, slander, gossip, harsh words, etc., will gradually subside, will gradually go down the drain. And instead, in its place, instead of killing, you may be freeing animals. You may be, instead of stealing, you may be donating your own resources. And instead of sexual misconduct, you may be more and more faithful your partner, and the relationships will be stronger. And instead of being intoxicated, you become a non-alcoholic and teach others as well not to do so. So you will talk only truth and not lies. And you will praise people more rather than slander. And instead of gossiping, you talk when necessary and what is necessary only. And instead of harsh words, you learn the art of talking to other people in a way that they will not be hurt. So like that, because of your alertness, because you try to restrain your sense faculties, it gradually makes you a better person. And the continuation of that will lead for you to be alert about all your activities now. Because all what we do is only the physical, verbal, and mental activities. So these physical, verbal, and mental activities will basically happen in our physical processes and the mental processes. So the physical process is basically the body, which we call contemplation of the body or being mindful of the body. And the mental processes is, the first one is being mindful of your feelings. So that is the connection between the body and the mind. And then the next one is being mindful of the mind and the phenomena. So because of this continuous alertness, and because you see yourself and you're abandoning the misconduct and getting onto the good conduct, you will always be having your attention to this physical and mental activities. So when you have this continuous attention, the Blessed One says that is the mindfulness of the four foundations, or four foundations of mindfulness, which we all know. They are being mindful of the body, mindful of the feelings, mindful of the mind, mindful of the phenomena. So of this, in the last few sessions, we have discussed being mindful of the body, and mainly when you become mindful of the body, the Blessed One in the discourses, he is mentioning 14 ways how you can be mindful of the body. So of those 14 ways, we are not using everything, because some of them are, rather than being mindful, some of them are contemplations. They are not actual experiences as such, but you reflect on how my body will be assuming another situation. So I'll give you example of that later, but there are two types of alertness, two types of mindfulness in becoming mindful of the body. One is the experiential mindfulness, and the other is the reflective mindfulness. So when it comes to experiential mindfulness and the anapanasati, or being observant of your breath, is the number one, and that is what we are doing as well. And then another way that you can be mindful of your body is the being mindful of your four cardinal postures. And then another one that you can be mindful is going beyond four cardinal postures. You can be mindful of the semi-postures or sub-postures, if I may say so. which means when you can be mindful when you fold your hand. You can be mindful when you stretch your hand. You can be mindful while getting up. There are stages when you get up. So you can be mindful of them. You can be mindful when you turn, when you look sides. You can see how your neck turns. So keeping your attention with the body. You can be mindful when you are eating. You can be mindful when you are drinking. You can be mindful when you are taking a shower, putting your clothes on. You can be mindful when you urinate. You can be mindful when you defecate. Anything that you do physically, you can have your attention to, and they are experiential mindfulness. So which most of us are doing since we have been practicing for quite some time. And reflective mindfulness is not any experience as such, but we assume, say for example, one reflective mindfulness is reflecting on the repulsiveness of the body. When you reflect on the repulsiveness of the body, it is not something that you directly experience as such, your breath or the postures. We know our bodies having some repulsive nature, but we use it, and sometimes we forget that this has a repulsive nature. So therefore, we recollect those repulsive 32 parts, foul 32 parts of the body, and assume these 32 parts are having all unacceptable states. So those parts are even in my body, and therefore my body is also having foul nature. And that way you reflect on your body. And the other example that the sutta is giving is you reflect your body, and you relate your body to a decaying corpse, and you reflecting on them, you accept this particular body that I am seeing. It usually happens in the charnel grounds or the cemeteries those days in India, but fortunately or unfortunately, we don't have those things now anymore, not only in India, anywhere in the world, unless it's a war zone. Of course, in a war zone, there might have a possibility that they will have decaying bodies. And in such places, we can't go and see the decaying body and reflect. By seeing that, you can't reflect on our own body because the circumstances are different. But during Buddha's time, they have had such instances where they go to the cemeteries and look at decaying bodies and see the same nature even in our body. So those are not experiences as such, direct experiences. Those are reflections. And even by doing those things, they have been able to bring the attention to the body. So all these things are done to bring the attention to the body. So when we practice, we are not taking usually the reflective mindfulnesses or the reflective methods. We are directly taking experiential methods. So the first ones that we discussed. So, and then when you bring your attention to the body continuously, the next state is someone who has his attention to the body will experience the feelings, how the body feels. So when you feel the body, the blessed one says there are mainly three ways how you feel your body. The three ways are pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling. So these are the three ways that you will feel your body. So we are creatures going after pleasant feeling. We always presume that the pasture on the other side is greener. So therefore, we keep moving from one job to the other, one car to the other, one wife to another, and keeps changing everything, and one country to another country. And what we simply look for is the pleasure. What we simply look for is continuation of the pleasant feeling. So the blessed one, seeing this nature, understanding this nature, he says, when your attention comes to the body, you may have this nature. You may have pleasant feelings, because when the attention comes to the body, and when you are not connected with the sensual world, you feel that you may be at ease. So when you are at ease, you may have a pleasant feeling. And on the other hand, when you keep sitting for longer time, some people may have the unpleasant feeling as well, because all your bones, all your joints may start burning, giving pain because of the continuous sitting. So therefore, when you practice, you can have pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling, and there will have instances you don't feel anything. You can't identify whether you have pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling, but you know that you are there. So when these things happen, the blessed one says, again, just be aware of the feeling. Just have the choiceless awareness of the feeling. Don't try to, if it is unpleasant, don't try to make it pleasant. If it is pleasant, don't try to hold on to it forever. You simply observe that. So what he says is, a monk, when experiencing a pleasant feeling, knows, I experience a pleasant feeling. When experiencing a painful feeling, he knows, I experiencing a painful feeling. When experiencing a neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling, he knows, I experience a neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling. So this is what the blessed one says. And he says, this situation, this observation has to be done not only in practice, even in your day-to-day normal life. So there are two sections under which you will have this observation of the feeling. One is the mundane life, and the other is supramundane life. So in your day-to-day activities, if you have pleasant feeling, just be aware of it. Just accept it. If you have unpleasant feeling, also just accept it. Don't try to rectify it and apply balm and go to a doctor and do all sorts of things. I'm not saying when you fall sick not to go to a doctor at all, but it can be an opportunity for you to observe a bit more closely and keep into your body and be with your body more. So the simple message is, when you have the four foundations of mindfulness, first one, observe the body. Second one, observe the feelings, irrespective of whether it is spiritual or otherwise. So in the last few sessions, we were discussing these pleasant feelings coming from the spiritual world. And we discussed the first two of them, and there are four mainly. There are more than four, but mainly in the discourses, especially in the four foundations of mindfulness discourse, the blessed one is talking about four types of spiritual pleasant feelings, and they are called the absorptions. They are called the jhanas. So we have discussed the first and the second jhanas in the last few sessions. So today I will give you a summary of that as well. In the first absorption or the first jhana, what the blessed one says is, you will be, these are the words he's using. It is when a mendicant, quite secluded from the sensual pleasures, secluded from unskillful qualities, enters and remains in the first absorption, which has the rapture and the bliss born of seclusion, while placing the mind and keeping it connected, or you call it while having the applied and the sustained thoughts. So this is the first absorption. So if I explain it a bit more, when you say the mind, while placing the mind and keeping it connected, in the Pali terms that are being used are vitakka vichara. Vitakka vichara means, vitakka means you label. Vichara means you gather information. Placing the mind means you label. Keeping it connected means you get information. Applied thought means you label. Sustained thought means you grasp the information. So that is the meaning of vitakka vichara. So if I may give an example, when you walk, if you are walking, saying right, 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 and left, 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 that is when you walk. In order to have your attention to the walking, you can label in that manner. And by doing so, you are applying your mind, you are placing your mind, and that is called vitakka. And when you place your mind, if you are able to see how you place your sole of the feet, how you lift it, what sort of sensations you will get, and what joints are being bent first, and then what joints are being bent second. And when you feel something, if you feel only onto the sole of the feet, or do you feel it even more into the body, or when you keep walking, whether you feel your not only the sole of the feet, you feel your calf muscles, you feel your thigh muscles, and you may start feeling lots and lots of things. And feeling those things or getting those informations, gathering those informations are vichara. So therefore, the English terms used are, vitakka is the applied thoughts, vichara means the sustained thoughts. Means you pick up those informations, you pick up those shapes and manners and signs, notes, etc. Of the object on which you have your attention. So when you have this labeling and gathering information, there is something that is happening in the background. What is happening in the background is that you are gradually getting secluded. You are gradually getting moved away from the sensual world, because you are now more with your walking or more with your breath, rather than the things that you see, rather than the things that you hear, rather than the things that you taste, so on and so forth. So you are getting a distance from the sensual world. And not only you are getting a distance from the sensual world, you don't have any sensual thoughts as well. Instead, you have the informations from the walking and from the sitting. Or even if you have some disturbances, you don't get disturbed by it. Even that you start observing. So because of this observation nature, you get secluded, you move away from the sensual world, and unnecessary, unskillful qualities means sensual thoughts, ill will, sloth and torpor, so on and so forth. So you move away from the hindrances and move away from the sensual world. So when you move away from the sensual world and the hindrances, then you will be more and more at ease. And that comfort is identified as rapture and bliss. Rapture is arising because of the freeing mind, and bliss is arising because you are not giving any unnecessary harassment to your own body. So your body feel comfortable, mind feel at ease. So that is identified as rapture and bliss, which is born of seclusion. So if I may give a summary about it, so what happens is you are labeling your object or whatever that comes. If it is breathing, you say breathing in and breathing out. And then not only you just label, you also at the same time gather information as well. So that leads to this situation of moving away from the sensual world and the unskillful qualities, and instead generating the rapture and bliss. So this is called the first absorption. So when you put this in the context, so these are not difficult things. I'm sure most of you have experienced these things, but there is no signpost saying that you are in the first absorption. It's not necessary to have a signpost. What is important is for you to walk on the path. When you walk on the path, you will naturally pass these things. So in this manner, you go to the first pleasant feeling. So in this first pleasant feeling, although I say the pleasant feeling, there is an unpleasant side as well. The unpleasant side is, it may be hard for you to move away from the sensual pleasures or move away from the unskillful qualities. So sometimes they may come and challenge you. So those challenges may be unpleasant feelings. So when that happens, you observe that as well. And once you observe that, this gradually you getting secluded from the sensual pleasures, and the unskillful qualities will get complicated, rather completed, not complicated. I'm very sorry. And then continuation, the practice in that manner will go to the second absorption, which again we have discussed earlier. In the second absorption, what happens is, the Blessed One says, the placing of the mind and keeping it connected, that is vitakka vichara, are stilled. They enter and remain in the second absorption, which has the rapture and bliss born of immersion with internal clarity and mind at one without placing the mind and keeping it connected. In other words, in Pali it says, vitakka vicharanang rupasama ajjattang sampasadanang chetaso ekodi bhavang avitakkang avicharang samadhijang piti sukang dutiya jnanang upasampadya viharati. So that's how they give it in Pali. So again, if I may give a summary of it, coming from the first one. In the first one, to go to the first absorption, your input is naming, your input is labeling, like right, or left, or breathing in, breathing out, whatever. So with that labeling, you get connected with the object and you start seeing more information of the object. So that is vitakka vichara, applied thoughts and sustained thoughts. So when it comes to the second stage, this vitakka vichara, or the applied and sustained thoughts, are getting stilled. That is what it says here. Placing of the mind and keeping it connected. Placing of the mind means the applying the mind. Keeping it connected means the sustaining the mind. These they are getting slowly stilled. When you come to the second absorption, maybe you have, those of you who have applied this technique of labeling may have realized after some time, labeling is a pain in the neck. You feel that it is better if you don't label. So that is because now you are gradually getting the hang of it. So therefore, labeling becomes a headache, right? So it is gradually getting stilled. And when that happens, they say they enter and remain in the second absorption. So stilling of the applied and sustained thoughts is the way to go to the second absorption. You can't do it by force, but when you keep on labeling and gathering information, you yourself will start feel that this is giving me a bit of a friction, and might as well I drop that and then just observe only or just be with the object only. And the blessed one says, remain in the second absorption, which has the rapture and bliss. Now, there is nothing for you to waste your energy in labeling, waste your energy in gathering information. Instead, you can invest that energy in the already developing rapture and the bliss. So entire energy is diverted there. So you will have more rapture, more bliss in your body. And earlier it was rapture and bliss born of seclusion. But here they say it is not rapture and bliss born of seclusion. Here it is rapture and bliss born of immersion. Immersion means being more concentrated. You are more and more concentrated. The Pali term they are using is samadhi jampiti sukha. With samadhi, you get more rapture and more bliss. How you become samadhi or how you become immersed is now you are not using the verbal activity to connect the mind to the body. Earlier, the verbal activity was used, the labeling was used to connect the mind to the body. Because the mind is very keen and a master in roaming around the universe. So therefore, the verbalization was used to keep it connected. Now the two are in harmony. Now the two are in a love affair. So therefore, the verbalization is gradually dropped. That is, vitakka is dropped. So when the verbalization drops, this immersion, this concentration, this being together, this love affair will continue. So when that happens, your rapture and bliss is born not of seclusion, but of concentration and immersion. So it further says, with internal clarity and mind at one. How it is internal clarity is because both the mind and the body together now. And therefore, that gives internal clarity. And mind at one, the mind and the body is the same now. When we were doing anything else, our mind is anywhere, somewhere in the universe, but the body is here. But because of this practice, the mind and the body has come together. So they are living in a very peaceful manner. I'm not saying these things are happening for hours and days and months together. For some people it may be, but all of you may have experienced these things in fractions of thought moments, and maybe few thought moments at once for some people. So therefore, these are not alien stories, or these are not fairy tales for you. These are experiences that you may have gone through. So, and it further says, with internal clarity and mind at one, without placing the mind and keep it connected. Now, it's a very interesting statement. At the beginning, for the second absorption, when they started, what they said was, placing of the mind and keeping it connected are stilled. But towards the end, it says, without the blessing of the mind and keeping it connected. So at the beginning, it is gradually subsiding. But once you are really concentrated and absorbed into rapture and bliss, now no more labeling, no more observation of the information. So this is how the second absorption happens. And this is what we have discussed so far in this discourse before 2 months. So I just wanted to touch on the next absorption, the next pleasant feeling. And if possible, we will try to continue that, or we will start with that and go deeper into the third absorption. But in the third absorption, what happens is, it says, fading away of rapture, they enter and remain in the third absorption, where they meditate with equanimity, mindful and aware, personally experiencing the bliss of which noble ones declare, equanimous and mindful, one maintains in bliss. So the Pali terms are Pitya cha viraga upekako cha viharati. Sato cha sampajanyo sukancha kayena patisangvedi yantang arya achikante upekako sapima sukha vihariti tatiyang janang upasampajya viharati. So what happens here is, now it is showing some sort of a trend. In the first absorption, they moved away from the sensual world and the unskillful qualities. To move away from that, they used applied and sustained thoughts. When it comes to the second absorption, they moved away from the applied and sustained thoughts. Instead, they got immersed with the rapture and the bliss. Now, when it comes to the third absorption, another thing is dropped out. So, when you go higher up in the absorption, whatever that you earn, they are gradually dropping. So, here what they are dropping is the fading away of the rapture. Gradually, like applied and sustained thoughts are still, here they see the rapture is gradually fading away. And when the rapture is gradually fading away, they are entering into the third absorption. So that is what it says. So here, it's a nice equation at work. One is getting increased and the other is getting gradually slimmed. In the first absorption, sensuality is getting slimmed, and labeling and rapture and bliss born of seclusion is developing. When it comes to the second one, labeling was getting slimmed, getting distanced, but the rapture and bliss was getting more and more developing. But when it comes to the third, now we have only the rapture and the bliss. Now the rapture is dropping and the bliss is becoming bigger and bigger, and is becoming a giant. So I'm not going to go any further on the third absorption. We will talk a bit more in detail because there are a few other important aspects in the third absorption to be discussed. So I think we have had a good summary of this beautiful sutta or the discussion of Kundaliya with the Blessed One. So hope this has reminded you of what we have been discussing so far on the sutta, and hope it has given you some insight into the practice that we are doing already. May you all thrive in your practice, and blessings of the Triple Gem.
Thank you, Bhante.
All right, great. Now we can, if you have any questions, anything to discuss, now is the time.
Yes, Bante. Just in reference to Vitakka Vichara, I've been doing a lot of meditation now because I'm not working and my mind is very clear and good. So my meditation, I've been doing quite a lot of it lately. When you were mentioning Vitakka Vichara, I'm not sure if I'm labeling things anymore. When I say that, the information that I'm bringing in, lately I've been having, because it's very quiet here, especially early in the morning and late at night when I meditate. So I've been hearing like sounds as being quite a thing. There's not really sounds going on externally, but I can hear sounds internally. When I say that, like humming sounds like, yeah, it's like a very subtle humming sound that I'm hearing. Now, when I'm hearing that, my mind is trying to label that in a sense where it's like, oh, that sounds like this, or like it sounds like a really quiet air conditioner in the background. And my mind's trying to um, find something with that sound that I'm hearing. Is that something that like my mind's playing a trick on me, or is that me trying to label something that isn't really something common that I'm hearing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It is neither labeling nor playing tricks.
So
That
is
is
that,
human nature.
yeah, okay.
That's when I mean these are not sounds that are not there. As I understand, these are sounds that are there,
Yeah.
but you hear them in a subtle way. Is that what you are saying? Or
Yeah, they're very subtle, like sort of like like a hum kind of noise.
yeah.
Um, it's very quiet, and it's something that I think is internal, like it's not an external noise. But
Uh,
what I'm trying to get at is when I'm hearing it, my mind is then going, that sounds like, or that sounds like, it's like my mind is trying to give it some meaning or some relation to us. You know, does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
yeah. So my initial understanding was wrong then. What I thought was that there is a sound and you hear it. Now what you are saying, it's not a sound as such, but there is some inner sound that is coming out, and you are trying to find a parking place for that.
Correct. Yes.
So that is again why it is happening is because your sensitivity level is increasing, and mind is going deeper. And for some people, their eye is very sensitive. For some people, ear is very sensitive. For some people, smells are very sensitive. So depending on the faculty that is more sensitive, you start hearing. If in your case, you are hearing things that otherwise you don't hear
Yeah.
because your mind is so clear. So when you hear that, don't try to find a place to park it. Just simply label as, this is not labeling. That is why I said it is not labeling. Simply label it as I am aware.
Just I'm aware.
That has to, yeah, that has to be the labeling instead of interpreting it, instead of making an analysis and identification for it.
Yeah.
But the
That's what,
mind is usually trying to do that because then it can continue the usual habit pattern of the mind.
yeah. Yeah.
Make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, it does. So just make it more of a generalized thing. So when I hear it, just maybe label sound kind of thing. Because
No, I would say don't say sound as well. When you say sound, your attention is outside.
yeah,
Don't label it as hearing. Then you are giving the idea that you are doing it intentionally.
right.
Or rather, don't label it as listening. I'm sorry. Don't label it as listening. You can label it as either hearing or I am aware.
Okay. I am
So,
aware. Okay.
yeah. So you are not involved with it. It is a phenomena. And that I am aware of that phenomena. That's all.
Yeah, I think I understand now.
Yeah. So you
Thank
get a distance from it.
Yeah, okay. So I am aware.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Bante.
Everyone, Saranai.
The other ones I don't know.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Give a report. It's been a while, so I thought I'll give
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
So it's been so this year my practice has been going well because last year
Chatu, give me a second. I'm just looking for the speaker. I can't hear well.
it might be me.
No, even when Steve was speaking, I had to go into the computer to to hear it. Just give me a second. I'll get my speaker.
I'll give a report. I haven't given one in a while. Last year at the end of the year, well, especially towards the end of the year, I had no time for practice. So this year I started a little bit better. So I changed my habit. So I don't generally do in the morning. I do late at night or nighttime. It's fine. I just do the hours I can. In terms of what's happening in walking and sitting, I'm just walking. And you gave me some advice before to, while walking is happening, just to see if there's feelings or just be aware of feelings that are happening. So there's not much feelings in walking. Sometimes in sitting, there's some feelings there. I just observe them, and at the end of the walking or sitting session, probably I don't even have anything to report. Some things happened, and then they were not really like very dramatic, and that's the end of that sort of thing. So really, I don't have much to give in my report other than that's what's happening. So sorry, but that's my report. Bante, if you're talking, we can't hear you. You're mute or something. No, we still can't hear you. I can see your mic on, but I can't hear anything. Unless it's us.
No,
Might have something
I can't hear anything either from Bante's end.
It might okay. It might have something to do, Bante, if you connected the speaker. Maybe it's doing something funny.
Yeah, the mic setting is probably not connected, maybe.
How is it now?
Working, yes.
All right. Okay. These gadgets are putting me in trouble sometimes. I just want to press the button and it has to work. I can't meddle with them. Anyway, coming back to your report, this is a state where the maturity of the marriage is coming. I know it is not applicable to you, but when we get married, initially it's a honeymoon period and it's so dramatic. And Kusal is trying to hide away. And after some time, what happens is it becomes all normal. So once it becomes normal, there is nothing to report. And things are just moving. So that is the maturity in the practice. So initially, when you start, so many information, so many things, and so many absorptions, so many raptures, so many blissful instances, things that you have not experienced in normal life, and all sorts of things are happening. But then you will have a lot of pleasant feelings and sometimes unpleasant feelings, and you will have questions to ask, what to do this when this is happening, what to do when this is not happening, and all sorts of things. And you will have a lot of why questions and things like that. So when most of the things are answered, you still practice, you still sit, but there is nothing for you to observe. Nothing is happening. And this is the highest state. Now, I should not say highest state. This is a very matured state of the practice. Now you will have to continue your practice when there is nothing for you to swallow, nothing to taste, nothing to like, nothing to dislike. So this is a state where neither pleasant nor unpleasant situation is there, and to go and sleep and not to practice. So that is a state where a lot of cravings have dropped regarding your own practice, and coming to the practice itself is the depreciation of craving. But now your craving for the practice has also dropped. And hatred towards the practice or things that are challenging the practice are also dropped. So when both these are not there, and also moreover, you are awake to see that this is not there. So it's a hell of a situation. Why I am practicing? So still, when you have this situation, you continue the practice means you now don't generate special type of liking or disliking to this state where there is nothing. Not only that there is nothing, you are aware that there is nothing to report, nothing to observe, nothing to say. So what I usually say is, even in such situations, try to take your mind when you are especially sitting. Try to what do you call, drill down into your body. And I have been saying this because that's a way if there are any defilements in our system, then those things will start cracking up and mincing your bones and the flesh and will be brought out. And even if you don't do that, and in this manner, when you continue, that will naturally happen sometime. So there is an organic way and there is a hybrid version as well. So it depends on the person who is practicing. So when I was doing, when I had such situations, especially because I was following Goenkaji as well, when I don't have anything to observe, I take my mind in very minute manner into the body. And then it starts cracking all these tiny particles of flesh and bones, and you get pains which have not been there. So like that, there are hidden unpleasant feelings. So you can dwell in and bring those out, or else you continue in this manner. Gradually, one day you will start saying, Bante, I feel like I have run 1,000 miles. It will come to that point. But still, the most important thing is continuing your practice and maintaining the timetable when in this situation. That's the key. Make sense?
Okay. Yes. Good.
Everyone, Sarana.
Everyone, Sarana, thank you.
Anybody else? All right. So if there are no more comments, no more questions, Chatu, do you have the paper?
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, Steve is having.
I've got it here.
Yeah, I'll hand over to Steve. Now we have generated a lot of merits, positive energies from the practice as well as from the talk and the discussion. So we'll share that with the rest of the beings in the universe. So can I pass on to Steve to share the merits, please?
Yeah. May all devas share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all other beings share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all beings share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect the dispensation. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect the teaching. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect me and others. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly, I have done any wrong, forgive, O Master, O Victor, greatly wise. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly, I have done any wrong, forgive, O Dharma, to be seen here and now, timeless. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly, I have done any wrong, forgive, O Sangha, practice well, the incomparable. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives, and may they be happy. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives, and may they be happy. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives, and may they be happy. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise up to the time I attain Nibbana. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise up to the time I attain Nibbana. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise up to the time I attain Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Blessings of the triple gem to all of you. We'll see you on the 4th February.
Everyone, Saranai. Thank you, Bante.
Teruvan
Teruvan
Saranai.
Saranai.
Teruvan Saranai. Teruvan Saranai.